Hey everyone. So I had a couple dreams this week that I needed to come on and share with you guys. I hope this video encourages you. There's a lot of messages here and a lot of things that I've been going through on YouTube, just going back and looking at my videos and stuff. I didn't listen to any of them, but I just wanted to go back and see what dreams of mine pointed to the return of the Lord right now. The rapture, not the return of the Lord, but the rapture. And so I'm just going to start with the dream that I had this morning. It was a really short dream. It took place back in my hometown where I grew up in Minnesota. It was just a really, really small town. And I haven't been in that church in a very, very long time. Just a couple times. And my dad passed away in 2014, and my grandma passed away in 2013, about a year and a half apart. And so before that, I can't even remember the last time I was in this church. But I've had a few dreams of being in this church. And one of them was my dream with the little girl saying, I know that I know that I know that the rapture was going to happen. And I knew it was on a Jewish feast day that started with an S, around a Jewish feast day that started with an S. And before I get into the dream, I guess I'm just going to share that again, that this month we have Feast of Tabernacles, October 10th through the 21st. And then it said Sukkot, the 13th through the 20th. But the other Jewish feast days that started with an S that's coming up is Shabbat. Here, I'm looking at my notes here. Shabbat Shuvah is on the 5th, and that literally means return. Shmini Atzeret is October 21st, and Simchat Torah is the 22nd. And I was also thinking about the Feast of Tabernacles when I had that dream about a guy coming down, and I saw this really bright light, and I can't remember the dream 100%, you guys, but it was something like the sun was going crazy, and then all of a sudden I saw this thing coming down out of the sky, and as closer it got, it was a tent. And as soon as it landed in my yard, this guy comes out, and he said his name was Mo. And then he pointed up to the sky and he said, "Do you see that? Do you see that?" And I think it was Jesus standing in the clouds. I guess I should have watched the video, but I just remember the tent, and I remember his name is Mo. And there was a couple suns. I believe there was a couple suns in the sky at that time. And Mo means delivered. So I thought maybe that's what pointed me toward Feast of Tabernacles, just because he was in a tent. And then also I had a dream of being in Israel, and that's where chaos all broke out and everything. And we were in a park that had a bunch of tents set up, and that kind of pointed me to the Feast of Tabernacles as well, which I believe is the same as Sukkot. I believe they're the same thing. But I'm just so excited for October, you guys, from now till the end of October. And I've also had a few dreams that, about the Antichrist coming about October 31st. I was shown Halloween in a couple dreams. So whether we leave at this time and that's when Obama steps up, you guys, I can't say 100% sure that Obama is it, but, like 99% of me just says, everything points to him. It really, really does. And if you watch Born for Battle 74, Chris's videos, I mean, there's just undeniable proof over and over and over that everything points to Obama. And I know thousands of people have had dreams about Obama. And then again, we got to remember Revelation 17:11. So I'm not going to say much more on that. But, and then I also had the football and baseball dreams, and that we were actually raptured at a stadium. Now, I don't know if it was a football stadium or a baseball stadium. I just remember we were standing outside, and the Lord's hands came down. I mean, they were massive. And then all of a sudden, we just shot up in the air. And I remember we were at a stadium. And then I also had my baseball dreams, of course. I had about the Minnesota Twins. So now is the season for both of them. We're in the football season, we're in the baseball season. So this morning, my dream took place in my church back home. And I can't remember if I said this because I've did this video a couple times, but I'm just going to start over here. I was just telling everybody that the rapture is going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, I knew Jesus was coming for us. And everybody just kind of ignored me, like I was invisible, like they couldn't hear what I was saying. And all of a sudden, the front doors just blew wide open. And this massive white light just come into the whole church. And it was so bright you couldn't even see. And I just knew that that was the Lord calling us out. And so I ran outside of the church. And as soon as I got outside, I saw my dad kneeling down in the yard. And he was kneeling down by a tombstone. The tombstone was just a flat tombstone. And Jesus was hovering above, I would say 20, 30 feet in the air, and he had his arms stretched out wide. And my dad was just kneeling down, like, praying. And so I walked up to him, and there was just a few people that had come to stand and, just stand in front of the presence of the Lord. And I looked to my right, and there was people walking to their cars. Like, they didn't know what was happening right then and there. And that was pretty much the end of my dream, you guys. So, of course, I wake up and I'm thinking about it, and I was just like, as a little girl, most of you guys know I was raised by my grandparents in a really, really small farm town in Minnesota. And I was very sheltered as a little girl. And I just grew up thinking that everybody loved Jesus, especially elderly people. And, I would just go and I would visit all these people and, play with their animals and get candy and play piano. And, that's just what I did as a little girl, because they were just like all grandparents to me. I just knew everybody in my town. And my grandpa was the gas man, so he just knew everybody. And so everybody went to church. That's how I grew up, just thinking, everybody loves Jesus. Everybody does. Well, you grow up and you get out in the real world, and then you know the truth. But still in my mind, it's like, well, everybody in that generation, they all love Jesus, and, as I got into the healthcare field and working in nursing homes and now owning my assisted living for, over 10 years, I've come to realize that not all people that are 80, 90 years old, love the Lord and, that are just in love with Jesus and watching and waiting for his return. Even though if they've been to church, their whole entire life, they should know the signs of the times that we're in. And I guess, there's just so many that are clueless. I've had many residents that have come to my home and I've taken care of, and they just make comments like, is it Sunday? Like, why are we watching church? And maybe they just grew up that you just worship God on Sundays for an hour, and then you can go back to living your normal life. And then, I've had other people that don't even believe in Jesus, and they were like in their 80s. And I'm like, are you kidding me? How could you possibly be on this earth for that many years and not know the truth? I mean, I just cannot wrap my mind around it. And I think this is what the Lord was showing me in my dream, was that just because people are elderly and just because they go to church doesn't necessarily mean that they're saved, that they didn't fully surrender their lives to Jesus. And so my heart has always been there to tell people about Jesus in my home, Like I said, I've taken care of a few people, and one was a Buddhist, and he would talk about meditating, and I was just kind of scared to ask him, like, who are you meditating to? And one day I just got the courage to sit there and ask him, like, who are you meditating to? And he said, Buddha. And I was just like, oh no, and then so I started talking to him about the Lord, and he just did not want to hear it. He did not want to hear it, and he would scream at me and everything. And I just like thought, how in the world am I going to get through to him? And a couple months had went by, and he got a really bad bladder infection. He ended up in the hospital, and in his will, he had basically said no life measurements at all. And his nephew kind of struggled with it because it was just a bladder infection. But this gentleman came to the point where he couldn't even really speak anymore. And so I just felt really bad for the nephew because it was his responsibility, and he just didn't know what to do at that point. But the doctor said, I can't put him in the hospital. I can't do this and I can't do that. So basically, we're going to send him back, and, he'll pass away. We'll put him on hospice and all that. So that was my opportunity to sit down with him by his bedside, and I would just put worship music on, and I would read the Bible to him and just tell him um, about Jesus and how much he loved this gentleman and just everything about the Lord. And I thought, this is the perfect timing because there's no way he can sit there and yell at me. So, a couple days go by, and I'm just, just soaking him in with everything about the Lord and the Bible and Jesus coming back and everything else. And then finally I said, are you ready to give your life to Jesus? And he got a tear running down his eye, and he nodded yes. So we said the sinner's prayer, and I told him, are you ready to accept Jesus in your heart and make him your Lord and Savior? Like, you do not want to be wrong on this. And you guys, he gave his life to Christ on his deathbed. So for me, it's just, so strong in my heart. And maybe that's why the Lord put me in this career. Just because, I don't know why I was raised the way I was raised, just thinking that everybody did. But, now it's like, no, no, and I was just telling a lady the other day that I take care of, like, what do some of these ladies just go to church and to sit there and gossip and talk about this person and talk about that person? I mean, I guarantee you most of these elderly ladies that go to church, they don't even listen to the sermon. They just can't wait till, it's over and they do their potluck and they can sit there and talk about this person. And you know how elderly people are. They just like to gossip, gossip, gossip. And so I hope I got her wheels turning, like, the Lord is coming whether people think it or not. I mean, it's a fact that he is coming, and people just need to get right with Christ. And just because you go to church does not make you a Christian. And so I hope I've did enough to save these people that have come into my home and where they've given their life to Christ. I know of 3 now that I definitely saved from going to hell. But I kind of got off track here, you guys. You know how I get. I just talk, talk, talk. Um, So, anyways, I had a dream on Tuesday. And so I've been sitting on this for a couple days, just kind of rolling it around in my head and just praying about it. And so my dream started out, as you guys know, I live in Livingston, Montana. And I live about 42 miles north of Yellowstone National Park. Between the park and Livingston is what's called Paradise Valley. And so my dream started out as I was driving back into town, and I was in this big white semi truck. And I was kind of back and forth in the truck, and I was also getting a bird's eye view from up above. I was like flying in the sky above my truck. And it was quite high. I wasn't like right above my truck. I was like way up in the sky. And so I was kind of going back and forth. And I could see that the traffic ahead of me was slowing down. So I started pumping on the brakes of the semi truck. And so I could see the speedometer. I was like going from 60 down to 55, 50, and down, down, down. And then I was back up in the sky, and I just knew that I was going to hit this car. And so I just slammed on my brakes, and I ended up hitting this red car in front of me that ended up hitting a black car in front of them. And so when I came to a stop, I got out of the truck and just was, seeing the damage that I had done to these vehicles, which was really, really minor. So we were just standing around talking, and then all of a sudden, this dark green Jeep comes flying by. And as soon as they got past us, they lost control. And they ended up going over this guardrail and down this cliff. And in real life, right by the highway is the Yellowstone River, and there's no cliff. There's like pull-offs where people can go fishing and stuff. But in real life, there's no cliff. But in my dream, there was this massive cliff. So I run over to the guardrail with a couple other people, and we look down and we can't even see the bottom. And I yelled to somebody, call 911. I said, but don't bother having them bring in an ambulance. There's no way that anybody survived this. So the next thing I know is that I'm at the bottom of this cliff. I'm sitting on the shore of the river, and I'm just sitting there just sad. I could just feel the sadness. And this Jeep is flipped upside down. And so I look over, and there's like these trees, and I knew it was fall, and the leaves were falling off the trees, and they were landing and surrounding this Jeep. And the leaves were like glistening, they were just sparkling, and they were dancing. And I just knew that the Lord was saying that they're alive. And so I just kind of yelled to everybody, they're alive. We got to save them. We got to save them. So I ran over to the Jeep, and as soon as I got to the Jeep, you guys, it was kind of crazy because the Jeep became the size of like a little boy's Tonka truck. It was just a little toy. And so I was able to pick this Jeep out of the river and set it on the shore. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I set it down, it became normal size again. It was a big Jeep. And so the guy in the passenger side rolled down his window, and his eyes were just so big, and he was just scared. You could see that he was scared, and he climbed out of his window. And then the back window on the passenger side rolled down, and another gentleman had crawled out. And then he reached back in and grabbed this baby, and he handed me the baby, which was probably about 6 months old, and handed me the baby, and I ran back up on shore with the baby. The next thing I know is that I'm up on the highway again. I'm up on top of the highway, and I'm on this fishing access road kind of off the highway. And this big yellow bus comes driving up and stops right in front of me. And the bus driver opens up the door, and he said, do you need a ride? And I said, yeah, that would be great. I'm just headed into town. And so I sat down on the steps of the bus, and he said, well, do you want to sit in a seat? And I said, no, that's okay. Town's only a mile or two up the road. And he said, well, do you want to say hello to everybody? And I said, well, sure. So I stood up and looked in the back of the bus, and it was just plump full of people. I mean, it was just so full of people. And I remember there was different races in this bus. And I said, hi, everybody. I said, do you all know Jesus? And they were just like, yes, and they were just like hooping and hollering and just like excited and just praising the Lord. And then I said, well, are you guys ready to go see him like right now, like right now? And then they got really super excited and just, just hooping and hollering, and again, just lifting their hands and praising the Lord. And then the next thing I know is I'm sitting back down on the steps, and I'm looking out the door through the windows, and all I remember is seeing like green trees and bushes and everything as we start driving off. And that was the end of my dream. As soon as I woke up, before I even woke up, you guys, I was singing the song Ready to Fly. I was singing, It's time to go home. It's time to go home. Again, I'm Norwegian, so I can't sing it, but I know that this song isn't very old and people have been putting it up on their channels. I think it's sang by Natasha Bloom, Ready to Fly. Let me think for a second. Been through rainstorms, sandstorms. Um, oh gosh. Anyways, it's like Ready to Fly. I want to go home. I listen to the song like every day, but I'm just kind of having a brain freeze right now. But I didn't even really wake up, you guys. I wasn't like my eyes weren't even open, and I just started singing this song, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's time to go home, and I just felt all this excitement in my spirit. So as I wake up and just the last couple days, I'm just thinking about this dream. And I believe what the Lord is saying. Of course, the end. We all know that a bus represents rapture. At least from YouTube videos and people that have interpreted dreams, they say that the yellow bus represents the rapture. And I knew that just simply because of what I said in my dream. But then this song came to my mind as I was sitting there thinking about it. And you guys all know the song. Jesus loves little children, all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. So I knew at that moment when I started thinking about the colors of the vehicles that were in my dream, I was driving a white semi truck, which I hit a red car, which ended up hitting a black car, and then I was in a yellow bus. And it just blew my mind, you guys, because I knew without a doubt that this was from the Lord. And you guys, I'm not a teacher and I'm not a preacher, and I just don't want to, come against anybody. But I just believe that the Lord is saying, even though we're Christians, there are some Christians, because I've met quite a few in my lifetime that are so-called Christians that love the Lord, that go to church, but they have ill feelings against other races. And I did this video a couple times, you guys, and I kind of just preached on it, but I just thought, I don't want to preach on this because we're all adults, and I think we're all getting this message very clear. And I think what the Lord is just saying, that, you guys, we're so super close to going home that we need to make things right. We need to get these ill feelings out of our hearts and our souls and our minds. And if we have any bad feelings toward any other race, that, of course, like I'm white. And so and I don't, you guys, I'm not prejudiced at all. I've always like believed that we're all God's children. There's nobody greater than the next, and that's with your careers and everything else. I don't care if you're a multi billionaire that owns your own business, and or you're a person that flips hamburgers at McDonald's. You're no different in God's eyes. We're all equal, whether you're male or female, or you work at McDonald's, or you work at, uh, like I said, if you're a CEO of your own business and you're a multi-billionaire, God doesn't care. He doesn't care. And he doesn't care if you're white, yellow, black, red, purple. He doesn't care. And so I think that's the message, you guys, is that we need to get our hearts right and quit judging people on the way that they look, where they come from. It's just not right, you guys. And I'm not going to say much more than that. So I just highly, highly plead with you that if you are having bad feelings, that you ask the Lord to take these away and you repent of it, because you do not want to be left behind just because of that. I mean, you just don't. And I know, I can even be, against people in my own race. I get so angry about, going to Walmart and Costco and people just being so extremely cold that I've pretty much locked myself up in my house for like the last 5 years. I don't go anywhere. I try to be happy and chipper when I do go out. I wear my Jesus shirts. I smile. I pay for people's things. I mean, I do what I can as a Christian to show people the love of Christ, but a lot of people, they just don't care. They just don't care. And so I really sometimes got to bite my tongue, but um, you just got to pray for them, and I live with it. Forgive them for they know not what they do. Forgive them for they know what they do. When I go out in public, that's what I got to do, is just constantly say that. So again, I'm just going to let you guys go with that. Just bring it to the Lord, repent of it, and just ask the Lord to give you eyes to see everybody equal, because that's the way that the Lord sees us. We're all equal. And we just got to know that, you guys. So again, I'm so super excited, you guys. Everything that's happening from now until the end of October, it's crazy, and I'm not going to help but get excited, you guys. I'm just, because even if he doesn't come in the next month or two, we just know we are just so close. And I'm literally like counting down the days from, we're at 71 and 5 months now of Israel becoming a nation. And that's what I just keep on telling everybody. You got to remember this, that we're 71 and almost a half years. So we just truly don't have much time. But like I said, if you haven't watched my videos, the Lord showed me, and I just pray and hope that this dream was from the Lord, that the latest we would be here is Christmas this year. So I'm just gonna still continue to hold on to that dream. And now, and I've talked about this dream over and over about the little girl with the Jewish feast day. I've held on to that dream for a long time too, you guys. So I'm just excited with October, with all these Jewish feast days that start with an S, and the Feast of Tabernacles, and the football and baseball dreams, and Jesus coming up to the hospital, no more blood. There was green grass on the ground, but it was like the first snowfall of the year. And right now in Montana, the forecast is that we're supposed to get like 8 to 12 inches here this weekend. So I don't know if that storm has passed us or it is coming or whatnot, but you guys, I just can't help but get excited. So please, you guys, get excited and just keep on looking up, you guys, because I know that the Lord is coming for us. And after these dreams this week, there's just no doubt in my mind that we're out of here, you guys. This place is going to be a faded memory. And just the few videos I've watched, I can see people just getting tired and weary, and just like, how much longer, Lord? I'm telling you guys, there's not much time left. There truly isn't. We are on borrowed time. We are soon out of here, like in the blink of an eye, guys. Like, we're going to be doing our dishes or mowing the lawn or, whatever. And then boom, we're in the air with Jesus. That's how fast it's going to go. In the blink of an eye, we're gone. And this place is just going to be a faded memory. But just keep on praying for your family and your friends. As long as we have time, you guys, we just got to do everything that we can. And we know we're just down to the nanoseconds, just the nanoseconds we have time. So just please, you guys, just give it everything you have to tell everybody you can. Leave your left behind letters. Don't forget those. And I'll look up Michael Langton's email again. If you guys have not gotten a left behind letter, he's got like a 7-8 page left behind letter that covers everything. So I will leave that in the description box below if you guys want to email him and ask him for a copy. He will be more than happy to send you one. Remember, the food, the water, supplies, everything that we need to have our families get through the first couple months of the tribulation. If they're left behind, you guys, we don't want to leave them with absolutely nothing, because that first month after the Lord takes us home, they're going to be out of their minds, not right in their heads, you guys. And we got to give them time to get their minds right, and where when they do run out of food and supplies, that they can go wherever they have to go and make that decision of the chip, or giving their lives up for Christ. And so that's why our Left Behind letters are so, so important. And just giving them enough supplies for a couple months that they can get their minds right before that time comes where they have to make that decision. You guys, this is no joke. It's serious. And if you love your family and your friends and your neighbors, you'll do whatever you can. I know there's people that can't afford to do it, but if you can afford to do it, don't be sitting on any money that's in your bank account. I mean, don't go spend it all, but don't be selfish and hold on to that money, you guys, especially for your family. There's money is going to be useless once we're gone. And so the only thing that they're going to have is what we leave them. I've been stocked up for years, you guys. I'm ready. So there's nothing I need to do, for my family except continue to praying for them that they surrender. Time is so, so short. But anyways, you guys, I'm over a half an hour here, so I'm going to let you guys go. I love you guys so, so much, and I know I will be seeing you guys very, very soon. So you guys have a blessed weekend, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.